Hi, my name is Alyssa Nelsen with Knob and Osteo Therapy, and today I'm going to cover some risk factors for osteoporosis. So as we discussed in an earlier video, osteoporosis is a brittle bone disease, or where our body is reabsorbing our bone faster than it is laying it down, leading to weaker bones that cannot sustain force as they should. So risk factors for that: women over the age of 50, especially in postmenopausal states, due to hormone imbalances and that reduction in estrogen, are at a much higher risk for this as compared to men of that same age. However, men over the age of 70 also are at risk for osteoporosis. Later in life is when men tend to see that vast decline in their hormones, which is where then they will come in with that piece. 1 in 2 women and up to 1 in 4 men will experience either osteopenia or osteoporosis in their lifetime and probably get a fracture from that at some point in their life. So it is a very common condition, very prevalent. So some things that can cause that increase in osteoporosis, one of the big things is poor diet and nutrition. So if you are under eating, not fueling properly, not providing your body with the nutrients that it needs to build up those bones, that can lead to us having decreased bone density. This can also be tied into if you have any conditions, medical conditions or medications that affect the GI system. If your body is not able to absorb nutrients out of the food that you're eating, this can also lead to this issue. Or if you have poor appetite because you've gotten more heartburn, or you just are on medications that block and suppress that appetite, hunger for weight loss, or anything like that, that can also lead to some malabsorption of nutrients. Some other areas are a sedentary lifestyle. So bones really grow and thrive off of having force placed on them. So similar to muscles, we have to train them to build them stronger. If your body is not utilizing that muscle need or that bone need, it will get rid of it, because it is more of a energy requirement than your body finds necessary at the time. So if you have bones that are pretty thick, pretty solid, and are used to a certain amount of force, and you have a drastic decrease in the activity that you're doing, this also will cause your body to think, hey, we no longer need that bone density. We're not handling those forces anymore. Your body will break down that bone to a level that's more sustainable for what you're doing. So if you live a sedentary lifestyle, not a lot of activity, not a lot of impact, your body is going to keep a much lower bone density for that area. Also, another area is actually low body weight. So this is kind of one of the areas that seems a little counterintuitive. However, the more weight that you actually carry on your frame, the more dense your bones have to be able to support that weight in your daily life. So people that are a little bit larger actually tend to have better bone density, whether it be having more muscle, just having a thicker build, or being slightly overweight, actually does tend to be a little bit protective in this case, as it does increase that bone density and gives us a little more support. A lot of these factors also can occur throughout a lifespan. So if you were younger, when you were younger, we really build up that bone mass up into our late 20s, into our 30s. So if in that time you had poor diet, very thin, maybe had an eating disorder or a gastric disorder, something that was causing you to have malabsorption, take in poor nutrients, were sedentary in that time, we actually did not build up the bone density that we could have in that peak frame, and that can continue, kind of put you in a worse place off later in life. So those activities from that earlier time span in your life can also affect how osteoporosis and osteopenia can be within your life. So these are some common risk factors that we see in some different areas that we can address when helping to treat and improving that osteopenia and osteoporosis. As always, if there's any questions that you have or anything you need, reach out to the clinic or check us out at knobpt.com.